I've been dialing your number for so long, yet each time it's as if the connection never happens, and I'm left wondering if you're even there at all, or if the distance between us is too vast to cross. Each ring echoes in the silence, unanswered and unacknowledged, leaving me with a growing sense of confusion. What does it mean when someone you're calling can't even hear your voice? The phone in my hand feels like a lifeline, but all I get is an empty dial tone, a reminder of the gap between where we are and where I wish we could be. I've dialed your number so many times, each attempt another whisper into the void, yet the unanswered calls only make me question what has changed and if there's still hope for us. The long silence after each call feels louder than any words could, and I find myself asking whether you're truly unreachable or if you've just chosen to stay away. No matter how many times I try, your voice remains just out of reach, and with each missed connection, I wonder if I'm the one who's been lost in the static all along. Every time I dial your number, it's as though the universe itself is telling me that some things are meant to stay out of reach, even if we want them more than anything. I keep dialing, holding on to hope that one day you'll pick up, but the silence between us only grows, and I wonder if that's the real message I'm supposed to hear. The unanswered calls leave me with 1,000 questions but no answers. What does it mean when the person you need is just beyond your reach, no matter how hard you try? It feels like I've been dialing your number for eternity, hoping for a connection, but all I hear is the haunting silence that reminds me of how far apart we've become. The phone rings, but no one answers. Maybe it's not your voice I need to hear anymore, but the acceptance that we're on separate paths no matter how hard I try to reach you. I've called you so many times, each moment filled with hope that it might be different this time. But with each missed call, I'm left questioning where we really stand. There's a certain pain in dialing your number again and again, only to hear the same empty response. I wonder, are you unreachable, or am I just not meant to find you? The silence that follows each call is deafening. I've tried so many times, but I can't seem to bridge the gap between us, no matter how desperately I reach out. I dial your number, and with each ring, I imagine all the words I could say. But the silence that follows only amplifies how much remains unsaid between us. Every time I dial, I feel as though I'm sending my hope and fears into a void, never knowing if they'll be heard or if they're just swallowed by the distance between us. I've been dialing your number for so long, but it feels like I'm talking to myself in a room full of echoes, waiting for something that may never come. Sometimes I wonder if the real reason your number is unreachable is because I've been afraid to face what it really means. That some things are meant to stay in the past. The more I try to reach you, the more I realize that some connections are just too fragile to ever fully be restored, no matter how many times I dial. It's like chasing a dream that slips further away with every step. I keep dialing your number, but each unanswered call makes me question if we ever had the same frequency. Each time I dial your number, I feel like I'm holding on to something that's already slipped through my fingers, and the silence is the only thing left to comfort me. How long can I keep dialing your number, knowing that the other end will always be silent? And yet, the hope that one day you'll pick up never seems to fade. With every dial, I feel the space between us widening. The unanswered calls are a painful reminder that sometimes, no matter how hard we try, some things are simply out of reach. The more I dial, the more I realize that some things are meant to be left behind, and some people are meant to stay just beyond our reach, no matter how much we want them closer. I keep dialing, but every unanswered call reminds me of how much I've changed and how much the distance between us has grown. Maybe it's time to let go. I dial your number over and over, but each time the call ends with nothing more than the sound of silence, reminding me that sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Every time I dial your number, I feel like I'm waiting for a response that may never come. It's as if I'm holding on to something that's already slipped away. The number on the screen seems familiar, yet each time I dial, it feels as though I'm calling into the unknown, not knowing if you're truly unreachable or if I've just lost my way. There's a strange sense of comfort in dialing your number, even though I know you won't pick up. It's like holding onto a thread, knowing that it's all I have left. With every unanswered call, I'm left wondering what it would take for us to reconnect, and if dialing your number over and over is just a way to keep hope alive. It's frustrating to dial your number again and again, only to hear silence. But maybe it's not your absence that I fear, but the realization that I've been chasing something I can't have. Each call that goes unanswered feels like another chapter in a story that's slowly being forgotten. But still, I keep dialing, hoping for a turn that will bring us back together. The phone rings, and I wait, but the silence is all I get. With each dial, I wonder if I'm just chasing a ghost, or if you're really out there, waiting too. I've dialed your number so many times, each time a silent plea for connection. But with every unanswered ring, I start to wonder if it's time to let go of something that's no longer there. The constant dialing feels like I'm caught in an endless loop. Each call a reminder that no matter how hard I try, some things will remain out of reach. I keep dialing your number, hoping that one day you'll pick up and everything will be like it was. But deep down, I know that maybe what I'm really looking for is peace in the silence. With every ring, I feel like I'm reaching across a vast distance, trying to close the gap between us. But the silence reminds me that some distances are too great to overcome. I've been dialing your number for so long that each unanswered call feels like a piece of me breaking away. But I can't seem to stop trying, even if I know it might never work out. Every time I dial, I feel like I'm sending my heart into the void, hoping for a sign that you're still there. But each unanswered call only leaves me more uncertain of where we stand. It's a strange kind of hope that makes me dial your number over and over, even though I know the call will never be answered. Maybe I'm just trying to prove something to myself. I dial your number, and with each ring, I'm reminded of the time we shared, and the silence that follows feels like an unspoken goodbye, one that I'm not ready to accept. It's as though the more I dial, the more I realize that some connections are just too fragile to hold on to. But still, I keep calling, hoping for something that may never return. Every time I dial your number, I feel like I'm searching for something that's slipping further away. But maybe it's not you I'm looking for. It's the part of me that still believes. The ringing phone in my hand feels like an unanswered prayer. But with every missed call, I wonder if I should stop hoping for a connection that may never come. It's strange to keep dialing your number, knowing it's futile. But each unanswered call is a reminder of everything that's been left unsaid between us. I keep dialing, but every unanswered call only deepens the silence between us. Maybe it's time to stop hoping for a connection that no longer exists. With every dial, I try to bridge the gap between us, but all I get is silence. I wonder, am I chasing a lost cause? Or is there something more I'm meant to learn from this? I've been dialing your number so long, it's become a habit I can't break. But with each unanswered call, I wonder if it's time to let go of a connection that's already faded. It's hard to let go when your number still flashes on my screen. I keep dialing even though I know the silence is all I'll ever get in return. Each time I dial, it feels like I'm reaching out to the past, trying to resurrect something that's long gone. But maybe it's not the connection I miss, but the version of me that still believed it could work. The phone rings and rings, but there's no answer. I wonder if you're still out there, or if I've been calling the wrong number all along. I keep dialing, hoping for a response that never comes, but every unanswered call brings me closer to realizing that sometimes the hardest part is learning to stop waiting. The silence that follows each dial feels like a barrier, reminding me that some connections are meant to be left in the past, no matter how many times I reach for them. I've been dialing your number for what feels like forever, but each call that goes unanswered only leaves me questioning whether the connection I thought we had was ever real.